Eagles fans, and welcome to yet another episode of the WAFL Report. Wasn't a great Good Friday for the West Coast Eagles, with both sides failing to kick a winning score in wet and windy conditions. The boys at Eagle Review have already gone over the AFL side of things, so let's get into the WAFL side. Despite holding West Coast to just one goal in the first half, Subiaco could never quite shake the Eagles, leaving it until the final quarter before sealing the win with 3 goals in as many minutes. With scores tied at three-quarter time, it was first-year draftee Luke Foley, who ironically was drafted from the Lions, who managed to get the lead for the Eagles early in the last quarter with his first goal in the blue and gold. 8 players reached 20 or more disposals, with Matthew Allen and Andrew Fisher commanding the airspace, with the duo taking 8 and 9 marks respectively. But now it's time to look at a few more closer areas of the game with our Eagle eye catchers for the round. To start things off, Jared Brander was the only multiple goal kicker on the day for the Eagles, and a standout around the ball, gathering 23 touches along with 6 marks. Now, there might have been an argument that one of his 2 goals was unintentional, with this kick bouncing through, but in wet and windy conditions, heck, even in dry conditions, you'll take the 6 points any day of the week. Our second eye catcher isn't actually a player or a play, it's actually the numbers from the game itself. So let's take a look. Let's start with disposals, 331 to 340. Splitting those up, kicks, 213 to 221. Handballs, 118 to 119. Accuracy in front of goal. Well, they had 5 more shots, but both sides had 40%. And finally, to neatly wrap things up, both sides had 45 inside 50s each. It's actually quite impressive to see that coming out of this game, considering the conditions. And third on our list for today is Keegan Brooksby's ruck dominance. The near 2 metre tall big man took command of the centre bounces and throw-ins, finishing the game with 21 disposals and 42 hit-outs, compared to his opposing rucks, Timothy Sutherland and Lachlan Delahunty, who only combined for a total of 28 hit-outs. Since coming across from the Sandful, his influence around the club and on opposition has been clear, highlighted in particular with a 5-goal haul and 30-plus possession game in the pre-season. And speaking of the man, after the game we caught up with him to get his thoughts on the match.
So it was a tough game, just fell short. What kind of lessons do you take from tonight's game?
I think we came into the game with a focus of contest and pressure, and we're up against a pretty good opposition that have been historically very good for the last couple of years. So if we could control that, then we were going to be in a position to be competitive at the very least. And I think that we did that through the game. We were ahead halfway through the 4th quarter, so we put ourselves in the position, probably just a little bit of polish at the end, and we would have actually been able to get away with the W.
What kind of positives do you take from tonight?
All those things, especially from some of the young guys that might not have played too many state league games against grown men. Subiaco have got very good midfield especially, so for some of the young guys that went through there, to be able to match it with them all day and just keep on cracking in, that's number one positive for me.
Your own game, you had 42 hit-outs end of the day and 21 positives. Happy?
Oh yeah, I think I was probably a little bit down, especially in round 1 against Perth. I think I had some good trial game form, and then got it a little bit wrong in round 1 and put my hand up for that. So last week was a good step in the right direction, and then today to just play reasonably well, and I'm pretty happy.
I find it was difficult in that midfield. You talked about Sudi kind of really cracking in. Notice they really followed the numbers around the ball to kind of counter what you were doing.
A little bit. I think our balance though, and the way that we wanted to go about it, we dictated a little bit to them throughout the game, and I think the clearance numbers sort of reflect that. We just polish it a little bit when we're exiting, and we might get a bit more bang for buck.
I see like this year it seems like the contest and pressure football are 2 hallmarks of the team. Is that what you guys look at?
Yeah, I suppose that's something that we can control, especially with a young group. So if we can just encourage everyone to back themselves to win the contest, and then just apply pressure, and then their strengths will come to the fore of just playing football after that. So if we can do that, then we're going to be in a good position to win games, and hopefully next week we're going to be able to get away with it.
And joining us on the WAFL Report, as usual, is senior coach Luke Webster. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me again.
Now, talk us through what it was like on game day, taking it up to the reigning premiers for much of the match. How did you see the game?
Yeah, look, we were really proud of our boys' effort. They cracked in all day and really took it up to the yardstick of the competition. That I think they've won 23 in a row now, and they clearly showed that on the weekend about grinding and win out. But couldn't have been more rapt with our guys, how they brought good intent and effort throughout the day.
How did you see, or how much did you see the conditions of the day impacting the match? Because they were pretty bad conditions.
Yeah, look, it was probably more windy than wet, but it was great to see our guys handle those conditions really well. There was 2 different looks, kicking into the wind and then obviously kicking with it. I thought both teams handled the conditions really well. But yeah, no, obviously it was great learnings for our guys to go forward if we get those conditions again and tinker with a few things that we can do a little bit better next time.
And Subiaco were undefeated for a reason, and part of that reason is their midfield. Talk to us about how you saw the midfield battle unfold.
Yeah, look, it was obviously a solid one for us throughout the day in the midfield. You know, they've got some quality ball winners. They've got some guys who can compete really well, get some really good outside ball as well. And I thought our midfield brigade really took it up to them all day. And I think in the end, from a stats point of view, I think we nutted them in clearances and a little bit in the contested possession, which got us a long way to obviously putting ourselves in a position to be able to win the game.
Moving forward, we had Jake Warden missing through to an injury reason, but Jared Brander stood up and got plenty of the ball and a couple of goals.
Yeah, it was fantastic. It's hard to replace Jake Waterman. I think he'd kicked 10 out of our 18 goals so far this year, but I thought the guys played down in our forward line, and obviously Jared was a standout there, the way he competed, both in the air and at the ground level, you know, filled that void for us.
And to sort of wrap things up, how have you seen our non-AFL listed players thus far in the season?
Yeah, look, we've probably had an average of 4 or 5 playing each week. Mitch Kerno, Andrew Fisher and Brady Grove played basically every game. And we had a couple other guys in Kieran Hugg and Jack Carey play their first games last week. They've handled the conditions really well. I thought they've come in and given great effort, and they're playing their roles for the team, and that's all we ask for them.
Senior coach at Webster, thanks for joining us again.
Thanks for having me.
Now, before we wrap up here at the WAFL Report, don't forget, this Saturday, 1 o'clock at Claremont Oval, we're taking on the ladder leaders, the Tigers. Should be plenty of goals and an exciting game. See you there.
Live local Anzac Day footy. The Demons battle the Royals. Perth, East Perth. Live at 3, Thursday at 4 on Mate.